What if I told you that some of the most useful plants supporting human health and daily life were not discovered in modern laboratories but quietly relied upon for centuries, long before convenience replaced knowledge? We live in an age of efficiency. Pills are preferred over leaves, bottles over roots, speed over understanding. In the process, a vast body of practical plant-based knowledge was set aside, not because it failed, but because it could not be branded, patented, or packaged for mass appeal. This video explores 20 forgotten plants that continue to help people today. These are not miracle claims or exaggerated promises. They are plants with long histories of traditional use, now increasingly examined through modern research. Some were used by soldiers in moments of necessity. Others sustained rural communities for generations. A few were once considered so valuable they shaped trade and culture. As we move through this countdown, each plant becomes more surprising than the last. Number 17 challenges a long-held assumption about what useful really means. And number 20 brings the entire list together, offering a perspective that may change how you think about everyday plants altogether. I invite you to watch through to the end. This is knowledge meant to be shared, not rushed. Let's begin. Number 1. Plantain leaf, often called the backyard bandage. For centuries, people didn't reach for antiseptic sprays or adhesive strips. They reached down. Plantain leaf grew along paths, fields, and playground edges, so common that most people stepped over it without a second thought. Grandparents taught children to chew the leaf gently and press it onto cuts, insect bites, or stings. Soldiers in the field used it when supplies ran out. Farmers relied on it during long days away from town. Modern research suggests plantain contains compounds that may support skin repair and help calm irritation. Nothing dramatic, just steady, supportive action that aligns with how it was traditionally used. The reason is simple. When the leaf is crushed, it releases natural compounds that may help reduce irritation while creating a protective layer over the skin. Cause, then effect. Even today, some people use clean, freshly crushed plantain leaves for minor skin discomforts. Always gently, always cautiously. No replacing professional care, just supporting the body when the situation is small and manageable. So why was it forgotten? Because it grows everywhere. Because you can't sell what people can pick up for free. Convenience replaced observation. Think of plantain leaf as a quiet first responder. Not flashy, not loud, just there when needed. And that sets the tone, because number 2 isn't found on the ground. It climbs. Number 2. English ivy, sometimes called the breathing vine. Long before air purifiers and syrups lined store shelves, people noticed something curious about ivy. In old European homes, it wasn't just decoration. It was kept nearby for a reason. Traditional healers and rural families used ivy leaves in simple preparations, especially during cold seasons. Records show it was commonly relied on by communities dealing with damp weather and heavy air, where breathing discomfort was part of daily life. Modern research suggests ivy leaf extracts may help support the respiratory system by loosening mucus and easing airflow. Not a cure, not a guarantee, but a pattern consistent enough that ivy is still studied and used in regulated forms today. The mechanism is straightforward. Certain natural compounds in ivy may help relax airway tension and support clearer breathing. When airways open slightly, breathing feels less strained. Cause, then effect. Today, people encounter ivy mainly through standardized extracts, often in traditional formulations used cautiously and in proper doses. The wild plant itself is respected, not casually handled, because knowledge includes knowing limits. So why was ivy forgotten in everyday awareness? Because it became ornamental. When something is labeled decorative, we stop asking what else it might do. Think of ivy as a silent assistant to the lungs. Not dramatic relief, just subtle support that people once trusted deeply. Number 3. Yarrow, often called the soldier's herb. Long before modern first aid kits, yarrow was carried into battlefields. Ancient warriors, including Roman soldiers, were known to pack it specifically for injuries sustained in the field. When bleeding happened far from help, this plant mattered. Traditional healers used yarrow leaves and flowers for wounds, fevers, and general weakness. Farmers relied on it during long harvest days. It earned trust not through theory, but repetition. Modern research suggests yarrow contains compounds that may support circulation and help the body respond to minor bleeding and inflammation. Again, not a replacement for medical care, but consistent with why it was used for centuries. The explanation is simple. Certain plant compounds may encourage the body's natural response to injury. When that response is supported, healing feels steadier. Cause, then effect. Today, people mostly encounter yarrow in teas or controlled herbal preparations, used gently and with respect for dosage. The wild plant itself is handled carefully because experience teaches restraint. So why did it disappear from everyday knowledge? Because emergencies became professionalized. Responsibility moved from individuals to systems. Skills were outsourced. Think of yarrow as the original emergency training. Knowledge carried, not stored. Number 4. Dandelion, often dismissed as the unwanted weed. Today it's sprayed, pulled, and cursed at. But there was a time when dandelion was welcomed, even protected. Traditional healers, rural families, and foragers valued every part of it, from root to flower. Older generations brewed dandelion roots and leaves as part of seasonal routines, especially after long winters. Farmers used it when diets were limited and the body needed support. It wasn't dramatic, it was dependable. Modern research suggests dandelion may support digestion and normal liver function, not as a detox miracle, but as a gentle assistant that helps the body do what it already knows how to do. The reason is straightforward. Certain bitter compounds in dandelion can stimulate digestive processes. When digestion improves, the body feels lighter and more balanced. Cause, then effect. Today, people use dandelion in teas, roasted root drinks, or controlled supplements, often as part of simple wellness routines. Always moderate, always intentional. So why was it forgotten? Because it became a nuisance. When something grows everywhere, it loses perceived value. Familiarity breeds dismissal. Think of dandelion as the overlooked maintenance worker of the body. Not fixing crises, just quietly keeping systems running. And that raises an interesting question. If a reed can do that, what about a plant that was once treated like gold? Number 5. Garlic, often called the village protector. Before refrigeration, before antibiotics, garlic was treated with serious respect. Entire cultures relied on it not just for flavor, but for protection. Families hung it in kitchens, soldiers carried it, healers prescribed it when illness moved through communities. Grandparents believed garlic helped the body stay resilient during hard seasons. Farmers ate it daily, not because it was pleasant, but because it worked often enough to earn trust. Modern research suggests garlic contains compounds that may support cardiovascular health and help the body respond to microbial challenges. Not a shield against everything, but a consistent helper when used regularly. The cause and effect is simple. When garlic is crushed, it releases sulfur-containing compounds. These compounds interact with systems in the body linked to circulation and immune response. Subtle but measurable. Today, people use garlic fresh, aged, or in standardized supplements. The key has always been moderation and consistency, not excess. So why did it lose its status? Because it became ordinary. When something sits in every kitchen, we forget it was once survival knowledge. Think of garlic as a quiet bodyguard, not aggressive, just always present. And from protection, we move to something gentler. Number 6. Chamomile, often called the night calmer. Long before sleep aids and calming supplements existed, chamomile was part of the evening. It was brewed slowly, usually after sunset, when work was done and the body needed to shift gears. Parents gave it to restless children. Elders drank it before bed. In many cultures, it wasn't considered medicine at all. It was considered routine. Modern research suggests chamomile may help support relaxation and sleep quality by interacting with pathways linked to calmness and nervous system balance. Not a sedative, not a knockout, just a gentle nudge toward rest. The reason is simple. Certain natural compounds in chamomile may bind to receptors associated with relaxation. When the nervous system eases, the body follows. Cause, then effect. Today, people still use chamomile as tea or in mild extracts, especially during periods of stress or irregular sleep. It works best when paired with intention, not distraction. So why was it pushed aside? Because calm doesn't sell urgency. Fast solutions replaced slow rituals. Think of chamomile as permission to slow down, a signal to the body that it's safe to rest. And once rest enters the picture, strength often follows. Number 7. Nettle, sometimes called the quiet strength builder. At first glance, nettle looks like a mistake. It stings, it irritates. People learn early to avoid it, but those who understood it never did. For centuries, rural communities cooked nettle like spinach. Healers dried it for teas. Farmers relied on it during lean seasons when nutrition mattered more than taste. Even soldiers used it when food options were limited. Modern research suggests nettle may support mineral balance and joint comfort and may help the body manage inflammation, not as a treatment, but as nourishment that supports normal function over time. The cause and effect is practical. Nettle is naturally rich in minerals and plant compounds. When the body receives steady nutrition, strength and resilience tend to follow. Cause, then effect. Today, people use nettle in teas, soups, or standardized supplements, always prepared properly to remove the sting. Knowledge turns danger into usefulness. So why was nettle forgotten? Because it punishes impatience. Convenience culture favors plants that don't require understanding. Think of nettle as disciplined strength. Unpleasant at first, rewarding over time. And if that idea resonates, number 8 takes strength in a completely different direction. This one supported the mind. Number 8. Rosemary, often called the memory keeper. Long before it flavored roasted vegetables, rosemary had a different role. Students in ancient Greece wore it while studying. Elders kept it nearby during important conversations. In some cultures, it symbolized remembrance itself. Healers believed rosemary helped sharpen attention and support mental clarity, not in sudden bursts, but in steady presence. It was trusted during long days of thinking, planning, and decision-making. Modern research suggests rosemary may support cognitive function and circulation to the brain, not as a stimulant, not as a shortcut, but as gentle support for focus and alertness. The reason is simple. Certain aromatic compounds in rosemary may influence blood flow and neural signaling. When circulation improves, clarity often follows. Cause, then effect. Today, people use rosemary through aroma, teas, or culinary use. Even the scent alone has been associated with improved attention in some studies. Subtle, but noticeable. So why did it fade from everyday awareness? Because memory became outsourced. Calendars, reminders, screens replaced the idea of training the mind itself. Think of rosemary as mental posture, not forcing focus, just helping the mind stand upright. Number 9. Ginseng, often called the root of endurance. Long before energy drinks and stimulants, people turned to roots. Ginseng was one of the most respected. In traditional Asian cultures, it wasn't taken casually. It was reserved for times when the body was depleted and needed rebuilding, not just stimulation. Elders used it during recovery. Laborers relied on it through long seasons of physical work. Healers treated it as a tonic, something that supported the whole system rather than targeting one symptom. Modern research suggests ginseng may help support energy levels, stress response, and overall resilience, not by forcing the body to perform, but by helping it adapt more efficiently. The cause and effect is subtle but important. Certain compounds in ginseng may support how the body manages stress and uses energy. When stress is handled better, fatigue often feels less overwhelming. Cause, then effect. Today, people use ginseng in teas or standardized supplements, typically in cycles rather than continuously. It's still approached with respect, not excess. So, why did it fall out of everyday use? Because endurance takes patience. Quick energy replaced sustainable strength. Think of ginseng as long-distance support, not a spark, but a steady flame. And once endurance is addressed, attention turns inward. Number 10. Aloe vera, often called the silent healer. Most people know aloe for sunburns, but that's only a fraction of its story. In many traditional cultures, aloe was kept alive in pots near doorways, not for decoration, for readiness. Families used the fresh gel for minor burns, skin irritation, and dryness. Healers used it sparingly, knowing its strength came from restraint. It wasn't applied loudly or often, only when the body needed calming. Modern research suggests aloe vera may help support skin repair and soothe irritation by maintaining moisture and supporting the skin's natural barrier, not reversing damage, just helping the body recover more comfortably. The cause and effect is clear. Aloe's gel creates a cooling protective layer. When inflammation is reduced and moisture is retained, healing environments improve. Cause, then effect. Today, people still use aloe in topical gels and controlled products, often after environmental stress like heat or dryness. Simple, familiar, still effective. So why did it become background noise? Because it worked quietly, and quiet help is easy to overlook. Think of aloe as recovery itself, not dramatic improvement, just steady restoration. And before we continue, a quick pause. If you're enjoying this kind of calm, research-based knowledge, consider subscribing. Not for notifications, not for trends, just to stay connected to ideas worth remembering. And if someone in your life values practical wisdom, share this with them. Now let's keep going. Number 11. Sage, often called the air cleaner. Long before sprays and synthetic scents, people burned sage for a reason. Not ritual alone, practical observation. Rooms felt different afterward, lighter, clearer, calmer. Traditional cultures used sage in homes where illness had passed, after long winters or when many people shared tight spaces. It wasn't about fragrance, it was about reset. Modern research suggests that burning certain types of sage may reduce airborne bacteria for a period of time, not sterilization. Not permanence, but measurable change that aligns with how it was traditionally used. The cause and effect is straightforward. When sage is burned, natural compounds are released into the air. These compounds may interact with airborne microbes, reducing their presence temporarily. Cause, then effect. Today, people use sage carefully, often with ventilation and moderation, more as a symbolic and environmental reset than a daily habit. So why was it forgotten? Because cleanliness became chemical. Natural methods were labeled superstition instead of early observation. Think of sage as a manual refresh button, not eliminating everything, just clearing space. And clearing space makes room for something else. Number 12. Lemon balm, often called the mood softener. In old herb gardens, lemon balm was planted close to the home, not hidden in the back, close enough to be reached when the day felt heavy. Healers recommended it for nervous tension, unsettled thoughts, and emotional fatigue long before those terms had modern names. Monks used it during long hours of study. Families brewed it during periods of worry or grief. It wasn't taken to escape emotion, but to make it easier to carry. Modern research suggests lemon balm may help support mood balance and calmness by interacting gently with the nervous system. Not numbing, not suppressing, just softening sharp edges. The cause and effect is subtle. Certain compounds in lemon balm may influence neurotransmitters linked to relaxation. When the nervous system eases, emotional load often feels lighter. Cause, then effect. Today, people use lemon balm in teas or mild extracts, especially during stress-heavy periods. It's often paired with rest, not distraction. So why did it fade away? Because emotional care became clinical. Gentle support was replaced by extremes. Think of lemon balm as emotional margin, not fixing life, just giving you room to breathe. And once the mind steadies, the body often follows.
Number 13. Fennel, often called the digestion reset. Long before antacids and chewable tablets, people reached for seeds. After heavy meals, long journeys, or seasonal changes in diet, fennel was chewed slowly or brewed into tea, not as medicine, as habit. Grandparents kept fennel seeds in small jars. Restaurants in parts of the world still offer them after meals. Farmers relied on it when food was simple but filling. Modern research suggests fennel may help support digestion and reduce feelings of bloating or discomfort by relaxing digestive muscles and supporting normal movement through the gut, not stopping digestion, guiding it. The cause and effect is practical. Certain compounds in fennel may help ease muscle tension in the digestive tract. When movement becomes smoother, discomfort often decreases. Cause, then effect. Today, people use fennel as tea, seeds, or mild supplements, usually after meals. Simple, familiar, still effective. So why was it forgotten? Because digestion became something to silence, not support. Fast relief replaced slow balance. Think of fennel as a quiet reset button for the body's rhythm. And once rhythm returns, strength becomes easier to maintain.
Number 14. Licorice root, often called the harmonizer. Long before it became a candy flavor, licorice root was respected as a balancing plant. Traditional healers used it when the body felt depleted, inflamed, or out of sync. Not to stimulate, to steady. It was commonly added to herbal blends, not as the star, but as the support. Ancient systems believed it helped other herbs work more smoothly and gently, especially during long-term use. Modern research suggests licorice root may help support the body's stress response and soothe digestive and respiratory discomfort when used carefully and in appropriate forms. Not something to overuse, something to respect. The cause and effect is measured. Certain compounds in licorice may influence cortisol metabolism and soothe irritated tissues. When stress signaling steadies, the body often regains balance. Cause, then effect. Today, people encounter licorice in controlled extracts and traditional formulations, often with clear limits on duration and dosage. So why did it disappear from common use? Because balance doesn't feel dramatic, and moderation doesn't sell. Think of licorice root as the mediator, not pushing the body forward, just keeping things from tipping too far. And now the list begins to shift. Number 15. Comfrey, sometimes called the bone knitter. For centuries, comfrey had a serious reputation. Traditional healers used it externally for bruises, strains, and injuries where recovery felt slow. Farmers relied on it after long days of physical work. It wasn't casual knowledge, it was specific. Modern research suggests comfrey contains compounds that may support tissue repair when applied topically, not internally, not casually, carefully and externally as tradition intended. The cause and effect is clear. Certain compounds may encourage cell regeneration on the skin's surface. When tissue repair is supported, recovery may feel faster. Cause, then effect. Today, comfrey is respected for its limits. External use only, short-term, purpose-driven. So why was it forgotten? Because nuance was lost. When misuse appeared, the whole plant was dismissed instead of understood. Think of comfrey as precision. Powerful when used correctly, risky when ignored.
Number 16. Willow bark, often called nature's original pain reliever. Long before aspirin existed, people turned to willow trees. Healers brewed bark teas for pain, fever, and inflammation. Soldiers used it when injuries couldn't be avoided. Entire cultures relied on it without knowing the chemistry behind it. Modern research confirmed what tradition already knew. Willow bark contains compounds related to salicin, which inspired modern pain relief medicines. Not identical, not as concentrated, but clearly connected. The cause and effect is foundational. These compounds influence inflammation pathways. When inflammation decreases, pain often follows. cause, then effect. Today, willow bark is used in controlled herbal preparations, always with caution and awareness of individual sensitivity. So why did it vanish from daily knowledge? Because its refined version took over. The source was forgotten once the copy became convenient. Think of willow bark as the original blueprint. And now we arrive at one I mentioned earlier. Number 17. Mullein, often called the forgotten lung companion. For generations, mullein grew tall and quiet along roadsides and fields. People passed it daily without knowing its role, but those who did knew exactly why it mattered. Traditional use focused on respiratory comfort. Leaves were dried and prepared during seasons when breathing felt heavy. Shepherds, farmers, and rural families relied on it year after year. Modern research suggests mullein may help support respiratory health by soothing airways and assisting the body's natural clearing processes, not forcing change, supporting flow. The cause and effect is gentle. When irritation eases, breathing often feels easier. Cause, then effect. So why did it disappear? Because it looks ordinary, because its help is subtle, and subtlety doesn't advertise itself. Think of mullein as quiet relief, always there, rarely noticed. And now, the final stretch, because number 18, number 19, and number 20 are where everything comes together. Number 18. Turmeric, often called the golden stabilizer. Long before capsules and extracts, turmeric was part of daily cooking. It wasn't special, it was constant. Healers noticed that people who used it regularly seemed to recover better over time. Modern research suggests turmeric's active compounds may help support inflammatory balance and joint comfort. Not instantly, not dramatically, but consistently. The cause and effect is cumulative. Small daily support adds up. Cause, then effect. Think of turmeric as long-term maintenance. Number 19. Ashwagandha, often called the stress anchor. Traditional systems used it when life itself became heavy, not for excitement, for grounding. Modern research suggests it may help support stress resilience and sleep quality by supporting nervous system balance. Think of ashwagandha as weight distribution. Life doesn't get lighter, you get steadier. And finally, number 20. Olive leaf, often called the quiet foundation. While olives shaped civilizations, the leaves were overlooked. Yet traditional use relied on them for resilience, longevity, and balance. Modern research suggests olive leaf compounds may support cardiovascular and immune health, not as a fix, as a foundation. And that's the message of this entire list. The most powerful helpers are rarely loud. They don't promise miracles. They support systems. They reward patience. They remind us that knowledge doesn't disappear. It waits. So tell me in the comments which one surprised you the most. And if this kind of grounded, thoughtful knowledge matters to you, consider subscribing. Not for more content, for better questions.